Okay, welcome to week 6 and 7, double header this time of Educating Elvis. We are just sat in my living room actually because it's tipping down rain outside, and he's been out for his little walk this morning. And I think everything that I want to kind of cover, the stuff that we've come across in the last couple of weeks, is stuff I can all just talk about. So sorry if it doesn't actually feature Elvis this week. Right, so the reason why we're on a double header is because it was my husband's 40th birthday and we were away for 4 days last week. Elvis went to stay with Uncle Alan and Otto and Cara, and he had an absolutely fantastic time. I think him and Otto got on like a house on fire, so I'll try and include some clips of them having fun at the end of the week. But just as a kind of point on that, it was really good for him to go. It was really good for him to go somewhere else and spend a few days with somewhere else. If you've got, like somebody that you trust with your dog, I think it's a thing that's worth doing in the same way you would do with a kid. You just want them to be comfortable doing that, because you're going to go on holiday sometimes where you can't take the dog, and you don't want them to be stressed and upset and when you do. So if you can introduce your dog to that, to the fact that they can go away for a few days and come home again, then that's great. And I was a little bit nervous that he might not actually want to come home, because he's had such a fantastic time with Alan. He loves Alan, and he loves Otto. In fact, Alan gets an excited wee sometimes when he sees him. So I was a bit like, oh, my dog's not actually going to want to come home. But thankfully he did, and he's very happy. Right, so what have we been working on for the last 2 weeks? So he's now coming up to 4 months old. So kind of logistically, a couple of things. We've swapped him from 4 meals a day down to 3, which is fine. That doesn't seem to have bothered him more in any way, shape or form. He's still food obsessed. He's still obsessed with everything. He will still eat anything. It's one of the things I have to watch him for, like, really closely, because he will, when I say he will eat anything, I'm not joking. He will literally eat anything. The other day we were out washing our bikes, and there was all the bike wash soap suds collected on the bottom, and he was just troughing into that like it was chocolate or something. So we do have to watch that, which is a point I'm going to come on to in a minute. So what I've been trying to do this week is do a little bit more training with him. He's getting a little bit older, and get a little bit more, what's the word, strict, or strict's not really the right word, just a bit more focused on making sure that he does things, letting him get away with a little bit less. And again, letting him get away with it sounds like I'm bossing him around, which is what, I'm trying not to do that, but just basically trying to tighten up and just go make sure that he's doing stuff a little bit better. So I've really been trying to tap into what drives him as a dog, because starting out on this journey, it was very, we're going to use all the positive, it's all going to be about positive praise. And we've set up our relationship where he doesn't get up on sofas, he doesn't sleep in the bedroom with us. And I am his manager, and realistically within our family it is me that is his manager, which is something we need to probably address going forward as a family. But I am doing the training with him, and he is my dog to a certain extent. So I am not giving him affection on tap. I still pick him up and cuddle him all of the time, because how can you not? Because he's so cute. But he doesn't get it if he asks for it, basically. So I'm just basically saying to him, I'm the boss. I'm not bossing him around or getting, aggressive with him or anything. But he just knows that I'm in charge, and it's subtle, but it's there. And so that was it. So I would be training him all on positive praise, and he would want to work for me all the time. Now, obviously he's a puppy, and seeing other dogs and other people is super exciting. And when that sort of stuff happens, I go completely out the window, basically, which fully expecting, and I'm not getting upset about it because he's a puppy. But I wanted to try and find something that would drive him more. What's he really interested in now? You can tell just playing with him, he's obsessed with several things. He's obsessed with food. That hasn't come from us, in the sense that we haven't tit-bitted him, we haven't treated him, he doesn't get anywhere near the table. He just goes mental for his meals. He's quite literally doing backflips to get to it. It's just his personality. He's just obsessed with food, wants to eat everything. And he also loves a game, or wants to play tuggy, which again is something at the start you're thinking, well, I don't want to do this, because all the advice that I'd had would be, don't get into a fight with your dog. Basically, don't play tuggy, because there's a very fine line between fun and aggression. And if you don't have the experience, which I don't, to really read that, just don't go down that road, basically. But it's what he wants to do. He's a terrier. He wants to grab stuff and go and rip it to bits, because he's a terrier and that's what he wants to do. He also wants to dive down holes, and he loves to pull things out of little gaps. He does that terrier thing where he flattens himself right on the floor, and he's, his back legs go completely flat, and you can see that's what he's bred to do. He's bred to flatten himself out, dive down holes and get stuff out. So after a bit of a discussion with him, I was like, I think I want to tap into that, because that's what he wants to do. That's what drives him, he's not interested in a ball. He just isn't. I've tried to get him interested in tennis balls, and he just sort of looks at them and he'll pick them up and he'll thing him a little bit, but he's just not, it's not him. He doesn't want to retrieve. So I've got this little tuggy toy, and basically I did start to do recall with this. So we'd be out in the park and I'd recall him in, and sort of as I'm crouching down to do my recall position, I'm putting this sort of between my legs and letting him come in and letting him dive down into a little gap, which he absolutely loves to do. He just throws himself into a little hole and then tuggy and then away. Which the first time I took this thing out was like magic. I was like, amazing. He absolutely loves this thing. I would just go, Elvis, showing him it, and then getting down to recall, get it. And using get it as a bit of a command, get it. And he'd come and he thought it was ace, and he was doing it. Now I don't think I overused it. I genuinely don't. I think he was getting it maybe 2-3 times in a walk, because that's all that's the number of recalls I do with him in a walk, maybe twice. But it wore off very quickly within a couple of days. He's just not, he doesn't place play, I don't think, above other stuff. That may be partly to do with him being a puppy, and other stuff's really exciting, and that might come, and I might just be not, what's the word, expecting too much. I might be expecting a little bit too much, genuinely might be. But when he's in the mood to play, he's quite happy to play, but he's kind of a food and sleep sort of a dog. He's just I just want to eat, I don't want to go to sleep. Which again is a really kind of puppy thing, but or play with other dogs. He's really keen to play with other dogs. So I am now combining that tuggy toy with a little bit of food, because he is so food driven. As I said, I don't think that's come from us. I don't think we've encouraged that at all. He just is. He's just massively food driven, and I'm pretty sure that's right from the word go. Even his breeder, I think, made a comment on it, of all the other puppies. He just is massively food driven. And I have discovered that he will do basically anything for food. So I have started to introduce a little bit of treats into his training. And it has, totally, honestly, accelerated what I can get him to do, massively. What took me, I would say, a couple of weeks to do, I've done within 2 days, as using him food. So, it took me a couple of weeks to get 2 or 3 meters away from him. If there's food involved, I can get, and he knows, sit there and wait for this food, I can get, miles away from him. And he'll just sit, he'll come basically from any distraction. So I took him on the school run this morning for the first time in a while, which is always a bit of a dicey, because there's a lot of distractions, there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of dogs, but we were sat at the school gates, and I just basically made him aware that I had a piece of food in my hand, which is just a bit of kibble, and I said, Elvis, sit there, and he just sat and stared at me. There was nothing. We're talking drop off at school, at primary school here. Kids, parents, other dogs, nothing. Just sat and stared at me I am waiting for that food, that was it. Now, the road I don't want to go down is where he, because he's not stupid, starts to realise when I don't have food with me, and then just goes, nah, not doing it, because that's not a road I want to go down. So I need to tread very carefully with this path, I think. So I'm not treating him every time. He's getting a treat for doing something like every second or third time he does something. But you can already see that when he comes up, he's expecting it. And if he doesn't get it, he's a bit like, And then the next time you ask him, you can sort of see him looking at you going, am I going to get this food or am I not going to get this food? Is it worth me coming? So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like while I'm getting a lot further with him based on this food, and it is what drives him. It totally is what drives him. I am walking a fine line. So I either accept that I'm just going to always have to have food, and that's just going to be the way it is for now, and I try and wean him off it a bit later down the road, or actually see if I can mix the rewards up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one. And the other thing I've started to do is just introduce a whistle, because I think I said in the last one, I want to introduce a whistle, because then whoever it is that's dealing with him, like out on family walk and stuff, has got hold of that whistle. Because Rowan, bless his heart, just wants to train the dog, and if you ask him for a sit, then it's just sit, and it doesn't matter how many times you say to Rowan, just say it once, Rowan. He can't help it. Like, he's 5 and he just gets extremely excited, and it just comes out and it comes out. And the same with the recall. He's here, Elvis, here. And I think he doesn't understand that the dog's in training as opposed to trained. Like, he thinks that the dog will just do now because he's done it for him once. He just assumes the dog will carry on doing it. So poor old Elvis gets a lot of recall commands. So I am trying to make the whistle the recall thing, along with the body language, and I'm still using the verbal commands, but primarily the whistle. Again, if I go out without a whistle, could be in a little bit of bother, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Because equally, having a recall command that's completely overused is exactly the same thing. So yeah, and he's coming like laser for that whistle. Like 2 days, pip on the whistle, his head's up and he's with me, and he gets a treat, and that's it. Like, he's laser in for it. So it is working like really, really well. But again, it's based on the food thing. So I just don't know how I feel about it. I don't know whether I've started to go down that road and therefore got myself in a bit of a stick with it, or whether I need to back out straight away. I just don't know how I feel about it. But it's working. And it is how the majority of dog trainers train. So, yeah. I think the thing that I have to accept personally is that I don't have 40 years worth of dog training experience like Alan does. And I might have watched Alan and worked with Alan for the last, like 6 months or whatever, and see the way the dogs work for him so willingly and so, like so happily, and think, well, he does it all without bribing them, if you like, with treats, so I can do that too. And it's like watching like Usain Bolt run 100 metres and go, well, I can do that too. The reality is no, I haven't spent however many years worth of training and effort and practice and skill and all the rest of it to get to that stage. So I'm helping myself out a little bit with the treats, but I don't want it to be the ultimate solution. So that's it. That is how we're getting on. Other than that, he's still awesome. He's still fantastic. He's great. I don't think there's anything else to cover this week. Let's say that's what these last couple of weeks have been about. And I'm sorry that this one has been just a bit me talking to the camera and no sort of demonstrations of anything that we've been doing with him, or any kind of shots of him or anything like that. But that's what I've covered, and that's the important stuff that I wanted to kind of get over, and how I'm feeling about it. And, like, I've gone down that road, and let's see how it goes, and hopefully I can experience whether it goes right or wrong, and to give people a bit of an idea about how that's gone. And that's it. Next week I'll definitely be taking this out and do some stuff, show you how well he is getting on. That's it. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope there's been some real positive comments from people saying they're finding this really helpful, which is great, because that is why I'm doing it, hopefully to help people and for it to go along with the puppy course, and like it to give a bit of real insight into what it's like to have a puppy and do some training. So the fact it's going down really well is great, and thank you very much for your positive comments and just generally listening to my face. See you next week. So after saying I wasn't going to do any demos in this week, Elvis has expressed an interest in being outside and playing, and the sun has come out. So I'll quickly show you where we're at with his long stays. And we're just using a squeaky toy in the garden. So he's already sat, actually. Elvis, sit. Good boy. You see, it's hard to tell on the video, but I'm maybe 10 metres. See how far I can get. Okay. Here! Here! Good boy! He's a toy! Good boy! Yes. So we've already done a few, and he's getting a bit bored. But that's about where we are with his long stays. I guess that's about 10 metres-ish.
Looking at the initial job support scheme that was announced, so jobs have been lost. I mean, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I think that's right, and we've heard too that really the redundancies and job losses have really ratcheted up over the last month or so, and that's in line with what we've been forecasting. So based on notifications that businesses have made to the insolvency service of potential redundancies, we've been forecasting that there'll be about 600,000 redundancies in the second half of this year, and that most of that was going to happen during September and October. Now, I think this comes back to the points that were being made earlier by the previous contributor from Sheffield, that how we can actually help people learn to find other jobs and move into other jobs is going to be increasingly important. But those are often going to be second choice jobs. They're not going to be the things that people have trained for or are skilled for. So there's going to be quite a big job already. We're already seeing a shakeout from the end of the furlough scheme. The job support scheme, I think, will help, particularly for those areas that got increased restrictions, where things got a lot worse in the last month. But we're going to need a lot more than just what was announced yesterday.
And briefly, Tony, we see that retail sales have gone up today. Do you think that will be enough to save the high street
This is a chew toy.
and those jobs on the high street? Because we know that the high street has been struggling since before the pandemic, and the pandemic obviously exacerbated the situation and made it a lot worse.
So retail sales figures today were very positive and really good. In terms of high street retail, I'm not sure that this is going to change that underlying picture of quite a significant shift away from face-to-face retail and towards online. And I think the other factor here is that a lot of retailers have been focusing on making their workplaces and their premises secure, and that means